Welcome everyone to the Module 2 of this course. In this module, we're going to learn about data cleaning, shaping, and transformation. To clean and shape the data in Power BI, we use a tool called Power Query. But before we dive into the world of Power Query, let's first understand the purpose of this module. Why do you need to learn about data cleaning and transformation at all? If you are following along in this course and if you watched the Module 1, you saw that we already built a very nice looking dashboard and we did not even have to get into trouble of data cleaning and shaping. Then why learn about data cleaning at all? Well, in Module 1, we were kind of lucky. The data that we used was already clean and ready to go, so we didn't have to make any big adjustments. But there's a thing. In the real world, it's rarely that simple. When you're working on actual projects, the data that you get is often messy, unstructured, or it's just not in a format that can easily be used for building dashboards. So what do you do when you get a messy data? Before you can create any visualizations, you'll need to clean and transform that data to make it usable or bring it in a state that can be used for building dashboards. Now you might be thinking, why not just clean the data using Excel formulas or do some manual work in Excel? Well, sure, you could do that, but that's not ideal. Imagine you're building a daily sales dashboard. Every day, new data comes in, but it's messy and needs to be cleaned before it can be used. If you're doing this manually in Excel, you'll be repeating all the same cleaning steps every single day, which is super inefficient. And that is where Power Query comes in. Using Power Query, you can automate the data cleaning process. Once you define the cleaning steps in Power Query, it automates the whole flow. Every day, it fetches the new data, cleans it up automatically, and loads it into your dashboard. This means that you don't need to intervene every day to clean the data manually. Now that we understand the purpose of data cleaning, let's get started with Power Query. In simple terms, Power Query is like a washing machine for messy and dirty data. Power Query broadly has three functions: connect, transform, and load. First of all, Power Query helps us to connect our Power BI to our source data. There are several different data sources that you can connect to using Power Query, including Excel, CSV, SharePoint folders, databases like SQL, and many more. Once you've connected to your source data, Power Query can help you transform and clean it. For example, if you want to remove unnecessary columns, correct the data types, or remove errors, you can do it in the transform step. Lastly, once you've done the transformation, you can load this clean data into Power BI Canvas where you can use it for visualization. These three steps work very closely. Therefore, over the next few minutes, we will learn about these steps together. With that, I think we have done enough of the theory work, so let's get our hands dirty and dive into it. Let's open a fresh instance of Power BI Desktop. And let's open up a blank report. As a first step, let's connect our Power BI to an Excel file. I have an Excel file here which shows some basic information about the sales data for the month of January. I'm going to connect my Power BI to this file. I'll go to Get Data, give the location of my file, and open it. If your Excel has more than one sheet, you will get an option to select which sheet you want to import your data from. So let's go with the sales data sheet. I have only one sheet in this file, and then click on Transform Data. Once we click the Transform button, the Power Query editor opens up. This is where all the data transformation work is done. To learn about the data transformation, the first thing we need to be very good at is understanding the Power Query editor's interface. On the left-hand side over here, you can see the list of all the queries or data sources that we have connected to. For now, it shows only one, but if we connect to more sources, they will show up here as well. In fact, let's go ahead and connect to one more Excel file. And to connect to a new data source, you do not necessarily need to go out of the Power Query editor and do it from there. You can connect to the data from here as well. And the steps are more or less the same. So there we go. We have two queries now. Both of these have different data. The first one is coming from a different Excel file and has January sales data. The second one is from another file and contains February sales data. If we want, we can right-click on them and rename them as well. Next part of the interface is the ribbon at the top. Here you will find several options which you can use to clean your data. Perhaps we can try one now. We have two extra columns in this sales data February query, which I want to remove. So let's do that. I'm going to select these two columns and then click on remove columns. On the right hand side, we see a section called apply the steps. Whatever transformation steps we are doing, Power Query records them. For example, the steps that we just did are appearing over here. Just right under the ribbon, we have a formula bar. Formula bar also records each and every applied step in the form of a code. Let's spend a few minutes to understand this better. In the first step, we connect it to our source data. This is the source step. Let's click on it. The formula bar will show you the location or the path from where it picked our Excel file. Then, if you recall, in the second step, we navigated to the sales data sheet, and the code for it is appearing in the formula bar. Also notice that as I click on a particular step, the data preview, which appears in the middle of the Power Query screen, updates to show the status of the data as at that particular step. In the third step, Power Query took the first rows of our data and promoted them as headers. Usually, Power Query does this step itself even if we haven't specified it. In the fourth step, it assigned the right data types to all columns. So for example, the product name has been assigned the data type of text, month is also text, sales and quantity are numeric data types. This step was also done by Power Query itself. In the last step, we removed the two unnecessary columns or the extra columns that we had in our dataset. The great thing about Power Query is that it records all of these steps in the same sequence in which they are executed, and every time we refresh a query, these steps will be applied to the latest data. Let's say, for example, there is an additional data that has become available in our source file. Power Query will still apply the same steps and clean the data accordingly. Let's learn it by way of an example. So this is the sales February file, which we have loaded into our Power Query. Until now, there's only a February sales data available in this file, but let's say now we have some data related to March that has also become available. I'm gonna save this file and close it. Now if I go back to my Power Query and click on Refresh Preview, you will see that the latest data has become available. That way, Power Query automates the workflow for us and saves us from repetitive manual intervention. With this, I believe we have a very good understanding of Power Query Editor, and we are ready to move on to the next step of our learning. And in the next step, we're going to deep dive into different types of transformation techniques that are available.